to attribute her behavior to the pressures of work and the natural ebb and flow of life. But as the weeks passed, his observations began to form a pattern that he could not ignore. He recalled the subtle glances exchanged during quiet mornings, the gentle sighs when the household fell silent after Ethan's bedtime, and the moments when Jessica's eyes seemed to wander to memories of distant possibilities. Each detail, though seemingly insignificant on its own, coalesced into an unsettling narrative of a life slowly unraveling beyond his understanding. Brian's concern grew with each unanswered question. Conversations that once flowed easily now took on a cautious tone. When he gently inquired about her late nights or the soft murmur of her inner thoughts, Jessica's responses were measured and brief, a polite deflection that left him grappling with a deep sense of loss. His attempts to bridge the growing distance between them were met with a quiet reserve that both puzzled and pained him. Late one evening, as rain lightly tapped against the window pane, Brian sat alone in the dimly lit living room. The silence was heavy with unspoken words, and in that quiet solitude, he reflected on the small, disconcerting signals that had gradually woven a tapestry of suspicion. The stable home he once knew seemed to be receding, replaced by shadows of uncertainty that clung to Jessica's every gesture. Each memory of shared laughter and familiar comfort was now tinged with a growing realization that the foundation of their bond was shifting in ways he could neither predict nor control. In the hushed hours of that night, as Brian wrestled with the emerging truth, he resolved to seek clarity. The home that had long been his sanctuary was now a stage for silent conflicts, where the familiar had taken on the semblance of the unknown. And so, with a heavy heart and a mind burdened by questions, Brian braced himself for the inevitable confrontation, a conversation that would force both of them to confront the evolving reality of their intertwined lives. The festive atmosphere of the Chicago dinner, originally intended as a joyful celebration for Ethan's birthday, slowly transformed into a stage for long-suppressed truths. Family and friends, gathered around an elegantly set table adorned with candles and heirloom china, found themselves entwined in a conversation that carried more than the usual pleasantries. Whispers and sidelong glances had become the prelude to an inevitable confrontation. As the evening progressed, the festive clamor subsided into a subdued tension that hovered over every course served. Jessica, seated at the head of the table, tried to maintain an air of composure, despite the weight of the unspoken accusations swirling around her. The familiar faces of close relatives and longtime friends, who once exuded warmth and admiration, now mirrored a mix of concern and incredulity. Every clink of cutlery and every polite laugh seemed to underscore the palpable uncertainty that lay beneath the surface. Gradually, what began as subtle questioning escalated into pointed remarks. A trusted family member, unable to mask their worry, broached the subject with careful, deliberate words. Their inquiry, initially cloaked in gentle concern, evolved into a series of revelations that left little room for evasion. The carefully constructed facade of Jessica's stable life began to crumble under the weight of whispered rumors and observations that had long been tucked away. Every shared glance and quiet nod among the gathered guests reinforced the emerging narrative, one that hinted at a double life and decisions made in the shadows. In that charged moment, amidst the soft hum of a once harmonious gathering, the accumulated tension found its voice. Jessica, with eyes that betrayed both regret and resolve, was compelled to address the cascade of questions. Her voice, steady yet laced with sorrow, recounted the chain of events, a mosaic of personal trials and unexpected encounters that had led her to this point. The family dinner, meant to celebrate togetherness, was now a crucible for buried truths. Each revelation, while painful, carved a path toward an uncertain future, leaving everyone to confront the reality that sometimes, even the closest bonds are tested when secrets come to light. In the aftermath of the heated family confrontation, the familiar weight of Brooklyn became unbearable. Jessica, overwhelmed by the cacophony of voices and expectations that had once defined her life, found herself drawn to a singular, desperate need for solitude. She made the difficult decision to leave behind the relentless scrutiny and emotional turmoil, embarking on a journey to a quiet town nestled in the rugged embrace of Colorado's mountains. Upon arrival, the stark contrast between the urban chaos and the serene vastness of nature struck her immediately. In Colorado, the horizon stretched endlessly, with towering peaks and whispering pines that offered both isolation and a quiet invitation to introspection. Here, away from the relentless pace and judgment of her previous life, Jessica sought refuge in the simplicity of unadorned landscapes. Every morning, as mist hovered over dew-laden meadows, she would wander along solitary trails, allowing the crisp air and gentle rustle of leaves to soothe her frayed spirit. In the silent company of nature, the turbulent echoes of her past began to soften. The isolation provided her with the space to sift through her memories and confront the complexities of her recent decisions. With each step on the rugged paths, and every moment spent watching the sun cast its golden glow over the valleys, Jessica started to piece together the fragments of her identity that had been scattered by betrayal, regret, and unfulfilled longing. The stark beauty of Colorado offered not only a backdrop for escape, but also a mirror in which she could rediscover her inner strength. Nights in this remote haven were equally transformative. Under an expansive sky, lit by a tapestry of stars that outshone any city light, she would sit quietly, letting the profound silence wrap around her like a comforting shroud. In those moments of reflective solitude, the noise of her former life receded, replaced by the soft murmur of the wind and the distant call of nocturnal creatures. Jessica's days became a deliberate journey inward, a slow and steady process of healing, introspection, and the tentative rediscovery of dreams once forgotten. Here, in Colorado's raw embrace, she faced the truth of her own heart, determined to understand what it meant to reclaim a life that had been lost amid the tumult of change. In the solitude of Colorado's expansive wilderness, Jessica slowly began to piece together the fragments of her shattered identity. Days merged into a reflective continuum where every sunrise seemed to bring with it a chance to rediscover a part of herself long forgotten. The rugged trails and towering pines, bathed in the gentle glow of morning light, served as silent mentors guiding her inward. Here, amid nature's unspoken wisdom, she embraced the bittersweet process of letting go of the past and nurturing the seeds of her future. Each solitary walk became an opportunity for introspection, a deliberate pause to consider the choices that had brought her to this precipice of transformation. The memories of tumultuous family dinners, the echo of whispered rumors, and the fleeting warmth of secret encounters were revisited not with regret, but with the clarity of someone who had learned the value of both pain and resilience. As she observed the steady pulse of life around her, from the slow unfurling of wildflowers to the rhythmic whisper of a nearby stream, Jessica began to see that every experience, no matter how fraught with difficulty, had contributed to the mosaic of her true self. In the quiet of a crisp Colorado evening, as the sun dipped behind rugged peaks and painted the sky in hues of amber and violet, she felt an unfamiliar sense of calm. The isolation that had once seemed like a refuge from relentless judgment now revealed itself as a fertile ground for renewal. Journals filled with scribbled reflections, half-formed poems, and plans for small, courageous steps towards change cluttered her modest cabin. Each entry was a testament to the gradual transformation unfolding within, a transformation not defined by external validation, but by the gentle reclamation of her inner voice. As days turned into weeks, Jessica began to rebuild her life with deliberate care. She sought out local community events, not to escape her solitude, but to find genuine connections that resonated with her renewed sense of purpose. In quiet cafes and small gatherings, conversations blossomed with authenticity and mutual understanding. Every interaction, though measured and cautious, reinforced her belief that her journey was far from over. Instead, it was evolving into a narrative of self-discovery, a narrative where each step, however tentative, was a victory over the fear of losing oneself in the routine of a predetermined life. Returning to Brooklyn after months of solitude and self-discovery, Jessica was met with the harsh reality that nothing could rewind the irreversible changes that had taken root within her. The familiar streets, once filled with comfort and routine, now felt alien as if viewed through the lens of a transformed soul. The gentle hum of neighborhood life was punctuated by a silent, pervasive melancholy, a reminder that the life she once knew was forever lost. A persistent whisper inside urged her to break free from the predictable patterns that governed her existence. Memories of that fleeting encounter in New York, the brief yet powerful connection with Tyler Adams, repeatedly surfaced with the force of a long-forgotten melody. They mingled with recollections of past ambitions, those vibrant dreams that once lit up her every day. Now, these memories stirred a bittersweet longing, a realization that the comfort of stability sometimes came at the price of lost passion and unexplored horizons. Throughout the day, while navigating the usual demands of work and family, Jessica felt a growing tension deep within. It was as though a part of her was silently urging her to abandon the well-worn path and step into a realm of uncertainty and possibility. Every smile shared with Ethan and every reassuring glance from Brian served as gentle reminders of her responsibilities. Yet they also contrasted sharply with the yearning to rediscover a self long buried under layers of obligation. The ordinary moments, once taken for granted, now revealed an undercurrent of dissatisfaction that she could no longer ignore. Evenings brought quiet solitude when the noise of the day faded away. In the stillness, Jessica's inner voice grew louder, questioning whether the security of her current life was worth the gradual fading of her dreams. The familiar surroundings of her home, once a sanctuary, now seemed to confine her spirit. As she looked at herself in the mirror, she saw a woman whose eyes held unspoken stories and unfulfilled desires. The very essence of her being cried out for change, a transformation that promised not only new experiences but also the chance to rekindle the lost spark of ambition and creativity. With every passing day, that inner disquiet became a silent yet insistent call for a life reimagined. At a prestigious business dinner in Chicago, Jessica found herself unexpectedly reunited with Tyler Adams. Amidst the hum of refined conversation and the clinking of crystal glassware, the atmosphere exuded a quiet elegance that made every whispered word seem laden with significance. The venue, a tasteful establishment adorned with subtle lighting and classic decor, was known as much for its influential clientele as for its capacity to host moments of serendipity. Jessica sat among colleagues, absorbed in discussions of market trends and strategic forecasts, when she noticed Tyler's deliberate approach from across the room. His presence was both calm and compelling, a quiet reminder of the connection they had once shared. As he neared, the ambient chatter softened around them, as if the room itself was making space for their encounter. Tyler's measured steps and deliberate gaze conveyed an unspoken understanding. Here, in this moment, they were to revisit a dialogue left unfinished. Moving to a more secluded corner of the restaurant, they exchanged greetings that were warm yet restrained, their conversation immediately steering away from trivial pleasantries. Tyler's questions were insightful, touching on Jessica's recent professional challenges and aspirations, while she offered thoughtful reflections on balancing the demands of her career with the inner call for transformation. Their dialogue, filled with quiet intensity, navigated topics that resonated with both ambition and the subtle undercurrents of personal longing. In between thoughtful pauses and reflective smiles, the structured formality of the dinner gave way to an atmosphere of genuine engagement. Their discussion, neither hurried nor laden with overt declarations, hinted at deeper complexities. A shared understanding of how ambition and personal fulfillment might sometimes collide. The space between them was charged with a promise of discovery, where every exchange sentence paved the way for reevaluating what truly mattered. By the end of the evening, as the business dinner continued around them with its orchestrated precision, Jessica felt a stirring of new perspectives. Her encounter with Tyler had subtly shifted the contours of her thoughts, suggesting that behind the professional veneer lay an unexplored realm of possibility. In that refined setting, their measured conversation had laid the groundwork for a journey toward a life that might one day blend aspiration with personal truth. Jessica's restless spirit found an unexpected invitation in the form of a creative retreat in Los Angeles, extended by her trusted colleague, Stacy. With her heart oscillating between duty and the call of transformation, she decided to seize the opportunity to step away from the familiar and immerse herself in a world where art and innovation converged. As she boarded the plane, the anticipation mingled with a quiet trepidation. Los Angeles was not just a destination, but a realm of uncharted perspectives that promised to reshape the contours of her inner life. Jessica Miller stepped into the bustling heart of New York with a determined spirit and quiet assurance. The prestigious business conference had unfolded as a whirlwind of sharp intellects, innovative ideas, and a vibrant energy that filled every corner of the Grand Hall. Standing confidently on stage, she delivered an inspiring address that challenged conventional wisdom and ignited aspirations among the assembled audience. Every carefully chosen word resonated with purpose, a reflection of her lifetime dedicated to excellence and the courage to dream. After the formal proceedings, the evening transformed into an elegant gala. Ambient lights mingled with the murmur of conversations and the subtle clink of glasses, setting the stage for moments of unanticipated connection. Amid the elegantly attired crowd, Jessica's gaze found that of Tyler Adams, a man whose quiet intensity and reflective eyes hinted at untold stories. Their brief yet meaningful encounter was inadvertently captured on film, destined to spark discussions within influential circles. Beneath New York's shimmering skyline, a subtle spark was ignited. This encounter, full of unspoken possibilities, promised a deviation from the familiar routine. It was a connection that invited Jessica to re-examine the boundaries of her orderly world without resorting to grand declarations. Every moment of that night brimmed with the weight of future decisions and the silent call for change. As the gala drew to a close, the memory of that single glance lingered in her thoughts. The image of Tyler's contemplative eyes urged her to consider the allure of unexplored paths and to question the predictability of her life. With the city as her silent witness, Jessica felt an emerging stir of internal transformation, a subtle call to embrace the unforeseen and to pursue the renewal of dreams long set aside. Back in Brooklyn, Jessica's life unfolded in the comfort of familiar routines and quiet domesticity. In a modest yet charming home nestled among tree-lined streets, she shared her world with her husband, Brian Miller, and their little son, Ethan. Brian, a dedicated professional in the financial sector, exuded calm confidence, often absorbed in his work and the steady rhythm of daily life. Ethan's cheerful laughter filled the rooms, a constant reminder of the innocence and hope of new beginnings. Yet beneath this picture of stability, Jessica harbored a growing restlessness that she could neither ignore nor fully understand. Every morning, as the soft glow of sunrise crept through the curtains, Jessica prepared for another day that seemed to mirror the one before. The quiet clatter of breakfast routines, the familiar exchange of goodbyes at the school gate, and the steady march to work painted a scene of reliability. But within her, a subtle disquiet stirred, a yearning for something more vibrant and transformative than the monotony of routine could ever offer. In the midst of everyday tasks, she felt an inner void, a quiet emptiness that whispered of dreams long suppressed and desires yet to be awakened. Evenings brought brief moments of solace as she watched Ethan play and listened to Brian's gentle recounting of his day. Yet, as the night deepened, a reflective silence would envelop her. In those quiet hours, memories of that mesmerizing encounter in New York began to resurface, each recollection igniting a spark of curiosity and longing. The brilliance of Tyler Adams' brief but impactful presence haunted her thoughts, stirring feelings that clashed with the certainty of her current life. Jessica's inner world was a tapestry of contrasting emotions, gratitude for the familiar comforts of family, intertwined with a persistent craving for the new and unexplored. As days turned into weeks, the tension between responsibility and desire grew more palpable. Jessica found herself wandering through her Brooklyn neighborhood with a distracted mind, caught between the warmth of home and the allure of a life less ordinary. Each familiar corner and well-trodden path began to evoke not just comfort, but also a poignant reminder of the dreams she had once cherished. In the soft cadence of Brooklyn's everyday life, a quiet battle waged within her, a struggle to reconcile the safety of routine with the magnetic pull of the unknown. In the quiet moments of dawn, before the city fully awoke, Jessica found herself lost in thought. The soft light filtering through the window revealed not only the familiar contours of her Brooklyn home, but also the unmistakable outline of dreams and desires that had long lain dormant. Each morning, as she sat with a lukewarm cup of coffee, Her mind wandered far beyond the confines of her daily responsibilities. The steady cadence of routine, once a comforting rhythm, now felt like a slow, unyielding current pulling her away from the life she yearned to experience. Upon arrival, the city unfolded before her like a vivid canvas splashed with sunlight and possibility. The retreat, nestled on the outskirts of a bustling urban sprawl, yet embraced by natural beauty, became a sanctuary where ideas could flow freely. The airy, open spaces and creative buzz of fellow participants instilled in her a sense of liberation rarely experienced in the rigid structures of her previous life. Here, every conversation was a window to a new worldview, every shared moment a spark that ignited dormant passions. During the days that followed, Jessica found herself engaging in workshops that challenged her long-held perceptions of success and personal fulfillment. Discussions ranged from innovative business strategies to the intricate nuances of self-discovery. The retreat offered her the rare chance to explore the intersection of creative expression and professional ambition. In this environment, the boundaries between work and art blurred, inviting her to reimagine a future that could harmonize both. As twilight descended over the retreat, gentle breezes carried the sound of distant waves and the murmurs of like-minded souls. In quiet moments under a sprawling, starlit sky, Jessica's thoughts drifted back to the familiar rhythm of Brooklyn life and the steady demands of her routine. Yet, here in Los Angeles, the air itself seemed charged with a promise of renewal and transformation. Each day brought fresh insights and subtle nudges toward embracing the unknown. For Jessica, the journey was not merely geographical. It was an exploration of self, a challenge to redefine what it meant to live fully and authentically in a world that was suddenly much larger than the confines of routine. In the midst of the creative retreat, as the bright Los Angeles sun painted the days with an invigorating glow, Jessica encountered Amber, a long-lost friend from college whose vibrant energy instantly bridged the gap of years. Amber had transformed from the quiet, introspective student into a dynamic media professional, with a penchant for uncovering untold stories and exploring new artistic dimensions. Their reunion was spontaneous, yet deeply resonant, as if fate had aligned their paths to inject fresh inspiration into Jessica's unfolding journey. Amber's presence was like a burst of color against the backdrop of familiar yet evolving surroundings. Over casual coffee breaks and leisurely strolls through the sun-dappled streets near the retreat, the two women exchanged anecdotes of their past adventures and discussed the transformative impact of change. Amber recounted tales of travels, creative challenges, and the joy of embracing life's unpredictability, each story painting a picture of a life lived beyond the ordinary. Her narrative was both a reflection of the vibrant world of media and a personal manifesto of seeking authenticity amidst a sea of superficial interactions. Their conversations unfolded in a rhythm that balanced reflective introspection with buoyant optimism. Jessica, whose heart had been quietly wrestling with the constraints of her routine life, found in Amber a kindred spirit, someone who had dared to reimagine her future despite the comfort of the known. In Amber's lively recounting of unexpected career turns and bold personal choices, Jessica detected a mirror of her own silent cravings for liberation. Each shared laugh, thoughtful pause, and knowing smile deepened the connection between them, anchoring Jessica's burgeoning resolve to explore new facets of her identity. As the retreat progressed, the duo ventured beyond structured sessions, discovering hidden cafes and local art exhibits that celebrated the unconventional. In these moments of serendipitous exploration, Jessica realized that Amber's influence was more than just nostalgic warmth. It was a catalyst urging her to question, to dream, and ultimately to embrace the transformative power of reinvention. The sunny streets of Los Angeles, illuminated by Amber's infectious enthusiasm, slowly erased the shadows of routine and whispered promises of a life reimagined. Under the vast expanse of a clear Los Angeles night, Jessica found herself drawn to the gentle allure of the ocean. The creative retreat had arranged a serene evening gathering on a secluded beach, where the soft murmur of waves provided a natural soundtrack for whispered confidences. As darkness enveloped the shoreline, the sky became a canvas of shimmering stars, casting a gentle glow over the sand and inviting souls to share their truths away from the prying eyes of everyday life. In the midst of this unsettling return, the painful truth became evident. The bond with Brian, once the bedrock of her daily existence, had frayed beyond repair. Their shared moments, once filled with tender routines and quiet understanding, were now replaced by distant, unspoken acknowledgments of what had been broken. Brian's eyes, once warm and reassuring, now carried a weight of disappointment and resignation. Conversations turned into curt exchanges. The love that had sustained them dissolved into a series of missed glances and lingering silences that spoke louder than any words could convey. Amid this emotional wreckage, another stark revelation awaited her. Tyler, the enigmatic spark who had once ignited her dreams of escape and reinvention, had vanished without a trace. His presence, which had both stirred hope and complicated her inner world, dissipated as abruptly as it had arrived. The fleeting moments they shared, those whispered confessions under starlit skies and brief yet profound touches of understanding, were now memories that floated away into an uncertain past. With his disappearance, the promise of a fresh beginning faded, leaving behind a quiet void that no new encounter could immediately fill. In the solitude of her once familiar home, Jessica sat in quiet reflection, the weight of her choices pressing upon her like the thick silence of a long winter night. The pain was real and raw, a tender grief for the loss of what could have been and the mourning of a life she was forced to leave behind. Yet, in the midst of this heartache, a glimmer of wisdom began to emerge. Through the trials and the solitude, she discovered a profound understanding of herself, a recognition that true growth often comes at the cost of cherished illusions. This bittersweet finale, though filled with sorrow, paved the way for an awakening that hinted at a future where the scars of the past would serve as quiet testimonies to a life fully lived, even in the face of irrevocable loss. In the midst of a subdued return to professional life, Jessica found herself invited to a modest business meeting in Chicago, a city that had once been the backdrop for many of her life's transformative moments. The atmosphere was subdued yet purposeful, with familiar faces mingling in an environment that promised both nostalgia and new insights. As the discussion delved into matters of industry trends and strategic opportunities, an old friend emerged from the crowd. Olivia, a confidant from a past era whose candid nature had always set her apart. Olivia's presence brought an unexpected warmth to the gathering, and soon, in a quiet corner away from the formal proceedings, she shared revelations that would upend Jessica's fragile understanding of her recent journey. With a measured tone and sincere eyes, Olivia disclosed that whispers of Tyler Adams' past were far more intricate than Jessica had ever suspected. She recounted with unmistakable gravity that Tyler's background was marred by complications and questionable decisions, details that painted a picture of a man driven by motives that were not entirely pure. Each word Olivia spoke resonated like a muted alarm, stirring memories of their once intense conversations and the silent promises exchanged under starlit skies. The conversation, carried on in hushed tones and punctuated by reflective pauses, compelled Jessica to confront a disquieting possibility. Had she been chasing a mirage of renewal in Tyler's presence? Olivia's revelations acted as a mirror, reflecting a version of Tyler that Jessica had never fully known. A man whose past might have been shrouded in shadows and half-truths. In that moment, the steady clarity she had begun to attain during her months of solitude wavered under the weight of doubt. The sincerity of Olivia's account, mingled with the echoes of her own recollections, forced Jessica to re-examine every detail of her journey, questioning whether the spark that once ignited her desire for change had been fueled by illusion. As the meeting drew to a close, Jessica's thoughts remained entangled in a web of conflicting emotions. Olivia's unexpected revelations had not only unsettled her perception of Tyler, but also ignited an inner dialogue about trust, identity, and the cost of seeking transformation through connections that might not have been what they appeared to be. In the quiet aftermath of that encounter, with Chicago's skyline as a distant witness, Jessica realized that every person she met carried layers of complexity. Layers that could either illuminate or obscure the path toward true self-discovery. It was during one such quiet interlude that Jessica encountered Tyler once more. Away from the structured sessions of the retreat, they gravitated toward a quiet corner of the beach, where the rhythmic pulse of the tide set a contemplative pace. Their conversation flowed naturally as they walked along the water's edge, the cool ocean breeze mingling with the warmth of their shared memories. Here, beneath the expansive sky, every spoken word felt intimate and deliberate, a rare exchange where guarded thoughts began to reveal their hidden layers. Tyler's eyes, reflecting both the starlight and the depth of his unspoken experiences, met Jessica's with an earnest sincerity that bridged the gap between uncertainty and understanding. In that moment, the sound of the sea became a gentle reminder of life's vastness and the quiet magic of serendipity. Their dialogue moved effortlessly from reflections on past ambitions to musings about the possibilities of a future unburdened by routine. A subtle smile played on Jessica's lips when Tyler softly reached out, and in a tender, unhurried gesture, their lips met briefly. A kiss that was as delicate as the night air, yet filled with a promise of renewal and uncharted dreams. And this happened. This encounter, framed by the intimate glow of moonlight and the calming rhythm of the ocean, resonated deeply within Jessica. It was a moment that stirred something profound, a quiet yet persistent echo of the life she yearned for. A life where every encounter carried meaning, every shared glance held possibility, and every heartfelt whisper illuminated a path toward rediscovery. Returning to Brooklyn, Jessica soon found that whispers of her recent escapades began to weave their way through her familiar circles. In the soft hum of daily routines, subtle exchanges among colleagues and old friends turned into more pointed discussions. Late-night meetings, unexpected business trips, and the noticeable change in her demeanor sparked a flurry of conversation that could not be easily silenced. At first, the remarks were casual, observations made in hushed tones over coffee or in passing corridors. However, as days passed, these casual observations morphed into persistent rumors. Jessica noticed that even those who had once admired her calm composure now eyed her with a mix of curiosity and concern. Her close confidant, Stacy, who had always been supportive, began hinting in gentle yet unmistakable ways that Jessica had become different. The familiar cadence of their past interactions had given way to a cautious distance, as if the subtle transformation in Jessica's outlook demanded scrutiny. In office meetings and social gatherings, the topic would occasionally shift towards her recent travels and the unexplained changes in her schedule. Comments that once carried an air of admiration for her professional achievements now carried undertones of uncertainty. Even those who had once celebrated her unwavering dedication to her family found themselves questioning if her newfound perspective might disrupt the delicate balance she had long maintained. Jessica could sense that what was once a private evolution was slowly emerging into the public domain, transforming from a personal journey into a subject of community debate. Though the murmurs were wrapped in polite language, the impact was profound. Friends and colleagues, accustomed to the steady rhythms of her life, now whispered about a transformation that seemed to ripple far beyond Jessica's own inner reflections. Each remark, each sidelong glance, resonated with a mix of intrigue and caution, a quiet acknowledgement that the woman they once knew was evolving into someone entirely unexpected. As these rumors took shape, they not only reflected external judgments, but also amplified Jessica's internal struggle between the comfort of her past and the allure of an uncharted future. Back in Brooklyn, as the days unfolded in the quiet cadence of routine, a subtle shift began to permeate the familiar corners of Jessica's home. Brian, ever attentive and pragmatic, started noticing changes that he could no longer dismiss as mere fleeting moods. His once unerring confidence in the steady rhythm of their life was gradually replaced by a creeping unease. Jessica's altered behavior, her distracted glances, unexpected late returns, and the distant quality of her once warm smiles spurred a quiet storm of questions in his mind. At first, Brian tried,